Hi, Loren. Thanks so much for joining us on the Win at Life podcast. It's so awesome to have you on the show. I've been meaning to message you and get you on for a while, but as always, I'm just busy doing a million things. You've got an amazing account on Instagram. You share some really great content, and a lot of my clients already follow you. So thanks so much for coming on today and sharing more of your amazing knowledge with us.
Thanks so much for having me, Kitty. I'm so excited to be here.
So today we thought we'd talk about iron, and we get a lot of clients, Loren, that come to us, women, 30s, 40s, 50s. They've done a lot of the restrictive diets over years and years and years. And often they'll, start changing to a pro-metabolic diet, and they'll, dial back the hours and hours of cardio. And a lot of them will go and get blood tests. And some of the tests that they get done are around iron, and they come back that they are low in iron. So I thought maybe initially we could talk about, those blood tests, what they actually mean. And if you are going to get tested for iron, which test should you be getting? Because I think there's a bit of confusion around that.
Totally, yeah. Happy to dive in. So there's a couple things we can talk about. So first of all, the marker for iron on blood tests is pretty inaccurate, honestly. And it used to be, so blood tests, the way iron is measured on a blood test right now, since the 1980s, has been serum ferritin. Mm-hmm. And so that's inaccurate because basically 70% of our iron in our body lives in hemoglobin. So that's actually what you get tested maybe when you go to donate blood. They want to make sure your hemoglobin is good and in the right range.
And can you just, explain to the viewers what that is, if they don't know?
Yeah. So hemoglobin is basically, it's a globulin, and it is iron containing. It's an oxygen transport. It carries oxygen to the other parts of the body, like the bone marrow and other organs like that. So it's a transporter carrier of oxygen. And so iron is a main component of that. So 70% of the iron in our body is within the hemoglobin. So it's within that, that protein, that globulin. And basically ferritin might be in less than 10% of that, because there's also myoglobin, which is in the muscle cells, or muscles. So we have hemoglobin, myoglobin, and then ferritin. And so basically the iron, it's in ferritin, but the way that we measure it is serum ferritin. So iron should actually, and ferritin should actually never be in the serum. It should always be within the cell. So when we measure ferritin, it's a sign of, and I don't really know another word to describe this except for pathophysiology. Yeah. So it's a sign that something else is going wrong. It's the body, that something else is happening. It's not good, basically, in the body. So if we have high ferritin, it's not good. And ferritin should always be within the cell. So there's a famous ironologist. His name is Douglas Kell, and he says that ferritin, serum ferritin, should always actually be 0 in the body. And so if we have ferritin, serum ferritin in the blood, it's not a good thing. It's a sign that there's something wrong. So what happens, what can trigger this is inflammation, excess iron, that sort of stuff. But we're measuring with this inaccurate marker, and then our doctors are prescribing us iron supplements.
So I'm just going to cut in there. So if someone was going to get this blood test and it came back and the doctor said, you've got low iron, you probably don't have low iron. Is that
right?
Correct?
Yeah. Very likely, and I'll explain why. So when there's inflammation in the body, or when we're taking too much iron, because honestly, we've been fortifying our food. I don't know how it is in Australia, but at least the North America has been fortifying their food. So this includes, wheat products, primarily, but there's also, the use of pesticides and things like that has also given way to more iron in food in general. So we've been experiencing about almost a 400% increase in iron in our food over here. And what happens is you need basically, minerals and vitamins don't work in isolation. So iron's partner is copper. And if we take too much iron, it depletes copper. And so we need to increase our copper stores or decrease our iron to have this relationship work symbiotically. So what happens when we have been having this enriched and fortified food for so long, or been taking supplements, iron supplements, or maybe we're just stressed because, anemia is most often today a sign of inflammation.
Because that was actually, I was going to ask you. So if a client had blood tests and the doctor said you're anemic, would it be accurate though? Do they measure it the same way?
Yeah, it's usually serum ferritin. And so the doctor will say, oh, your ferritin is low, let's raise it, when it's a totally irrelevant marker for how to measure iron. The most accurate way, if you really wanted to, would be to take a liver biopsy and measure that. But we can't do that. So what happens when we're inflamed, when we're super stressed, when we're being exposed to all of these fortified foods and supplements, or taking things that, kind of deplete copper, because that's that partner that keeps everything balanced. Our body will put iron into storage. So it removes it from our bloodstream because that's where viruses and bacteria, fungi, other pathogens live. And so the body is like, we don't want to feed that because iron is their primary source of food, or at least one of their favorites. And so the body will shuttle iron and put it into tissues and store it there because it doesn't want to feed these bacteria and pathogens. And so when we take, a blood test, it's quite misleading because we could have very, very little iron in our blood and tons of iron in our tissues. I think it's around 10 times more. So, it's a misleading way to measure iron in the body.
Yeah, wow, isn't that fascinating? So if someone does go to the doctor and they say, oh, you're anemic, what actually is happening in their body?
Yeah, so it's likely, it could be a copper deficiency. We're all pretty copper deficient, at least here in North America, because of the supplements we take or because of the way that we grow our food. There's a bunch of things that basically stop copper from working or remove them completely from the body. And these are things like vitamin D supplements or ascorbic acid. So this is used as a food preservative as well. So if you're taking vitamin C with ascorbic acid, which is very common during this time, it's just depleting your vitamin C. And why that's important is because vitamin C actually is a complex that contains copper. So that's another thing. You could be taking zinc supplements. That's also very common right now. And zinc is actually another partner for copper. So it's kind of like a seesaw relationship, and they share receptors in the body. And so if you're taking zinc, copper is not going to be able to kind of plant itself either. It's just going to not be able to be used. So there's a bunch of things throwing the balance of all of these relationships off, and it's leading to a cascade of inflammation like that.
It's interesting, even, I was going to say, even more, we recommend our clients get your nutrients from food, eat the liver, eat the oysters, because it's balanced.
Right.
In nature, it's got everything in balance.
Exactly.
And it's cheaper.
Yeah.
I think about all the money that I wasted on bloody supplements and vitamins and minerals, and, you can buy liver. It's like $10 a kilo. Oysters are a bit more expensive. And some people, to be honest, take the freeze-dried liver capsules just because it's easier. But, it's nature. Nature knows.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's the benefit of, taking or getting most of your nutrients from food, because you can really throw yourself off balance. Even if it seems pretty innocent, the supplement can still do that. Now, there's exceptions like magnesium, for example, or let's say vitamin E. Those are pretty safe to take because everyone is just so depleted in them. But, if you're taking iron supplements, it's probably just adding to the problem. And it's been documented to show that it can make anemia worse. So it's kind of like a crapshoot there. But so, we have tons of supplements that we're taking, practices that around agriculture as well. So glyphosate is a very common pesticide and herbicide used here in the States. It's called Roundup. That's the market name. And that chelates copper. It also can affect collagen because it replaces glycine, which is a really important amino acid, with another one. And so it's kind of messing the molecular structure of collagen up too. Then we have high fructose corn syrup, which is in a lot of processed foods. Maybe we've grown up drinking, high fructose corn syrup laden sodas and things like that. And so those are copper chelators. So they affect copper as well and block it from having any action. So we have all of these things, being thrown off balance. Another important thing to mention too is, like I mentioned, vitamins and minerals have these relationships. Anemia can also be a vitamin A deficiency. So and when I say vitamin A, I mean retinol. So not beta carotene, not vitamin A from plant foods. It's real vitamin A from animal fats. So
can you I'm just keep digging a little bit because some of the listeners won't understand. So can you tell them the difference between why beta carotene is not the same as preformed vitamin A, what it has to do in the body and why it's stressful on the body? Because I think, prior to finding Repeat and changing my diet, I ate a lot of foods high in beta carotene.
Oh, me too.
Just not realizing it, I never ate white potato because I was like, oh, white potato is bad because it's white. And if I was ever going to eat root vegetables, it's always sweet potato. Anyway, sorry, just can you go into a little bit of detail around that?
Totally, yeah. So beta carotene, it's a plant, it's basically preformed vitamin A, but 12 units of beta carotene yields 1 unit of retinol. So your body has to convert it. It's a very energy intensive process to convert beta carotene to real vitamin A. And you only get so much bang for your buck. So you have to eat basically 12 times more vitamin A or beta carotene than you would retinol. Retinol is vitamin A from animals. And it's also can be suppressive to the thyroid as well. So too much beta carotene, too many plant compounds like that can really slow down the metabolism. And the beta carotene can also feed bacteria that we don't want to grow in our guts. So if we're eating too much, this is not, we have to take this with a grain of salt because the raw carrot salad, I have my clients do, you have your clients do as well. That's just one dose of that, and that's fine in context. But if we're slamming, beta carotene because we think it's going to be this amazing vitamin A source, like we're eating sweet potatoes at breakfast, carrots at lunch, even green foods have beta carotene, yellow foods and red foods have beta carotene. It's not just orange. So if we're slamming these things, especially, if you're on a plant-based diet, you're probably getting so much. It's not only, it's not only energy intensive to convert it, it's slowing down our thyroid and potentially feeding pathogenic bacteria in our gut. So there's a couple of downsides to that.
I think too, we see it a lot with women in our program when they come in because they've just done so many of the stupid diets and they've just fucked themselves basically like I did. They'll eat the carrot salad and their liver will have trouble processing it and their hands will turn orange. And initially, so we're like, you've really got to work on the basics and the foundations to improve everything so that your body can actually process that. It's really interesting. Yeah, it is. It is fascinating. I think, prior to eating this way, I never really thought about. Well, I never really thought about anything. I just followed, whatever the fad was, and that was going to get me skinny. But
I'm with you.
Yeah, coming back to can my body digest and this food and absorb the nutrient? You know, like that's
Right.
what I think about now. And what are the nutrients that you need, you know, because I think a lot of women or just people in general, and I was the same, I just thought you had to eat green vegetables. Like I get a lot of women comment on my posts, obviously who've never eaten like this. Yeah, but Kitty, what about the green vegetables? Like you're really missing out on all the nutrients. But no, when you actually ask people, well, what are the nutrients in green vegetables, and you know, why do you need them, and why, like, there's other foods you can get them from in higher amounts in more easily digestible forms. So I think you just get brainwashed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a total misconception, and you know, a lot of people will say, "Well, what about my greens?" When I try to shift them more towards a pro-metabolic style of eating, and it's a conversation we have to have. Like, animal foods are the superior source for vitamins and minerals. Minerals. There's a caveat there. That's why fruits are so important. Like potassium is really hard to get from animal foods. But that said, primarily it should be animal foods, and so it's just so beneficial. And a lot of us have been avoiding things like fat. So in the 50s, ever since the 50s, we've gone on these fat-free diets or switched to plant oils, things like canola, grapeseed, any kind of industrial nut or seed oil, and we've been pretty much slamming those since at least and honestly that's continued.
it is crazy, isn't it? Like you get like, and I'm sure you might get it too. People like, this is outrageous. Like, I can't believe you'd suggest people eat like this. And it's nothing. They think it's crazy. But if you go back to like the 1900s, this is how they ate. They had like,
right.
Actually, even this morning, a lady was posting, she was watching some show about, like, I don't know, I think it's a show. And she's like, isn't it amazing? This is how they ate. So like roast potatoes in lard, very little green vegetables. They had like a dessert, which was jelly, a jelly, an orange jelly. So it's like, really, we're just going back to traditional food.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so beneficial for us. It's just so much more rich in nutrients and minerals and vitamins, and it has they were doing something right. There's a reason they had it.
It tastes nice too. Like, I think something that's really helped me, and if you're listening to this, is like listen to your body. Like, I mean, don't, obviously fucking Krispy Kreme donuts taste nice. So you still need to do some critical thinking, but like beautiful, ripe, fresh fruit, mashed potatoes with butter and salt, steak. Like, what makes your mouth water? Green vegetables don't make your mouth water. They don't. They taste bitter. Like, I always ask my clients, so when you have a binge, do you ever go and binge on green vegetables? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, you don't love them then. Like, it's just, you bite into green vegetables and they're bitter, which to me signals poison. It just, when I started to sort of reframe it and think about it like that, I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. Your mouth doesn't salivate for green vegetables and raw cabbage, and it's like it salivates a beautiful glass of fresh orange juice.
Think about what you liked when you were a kid. You didn't like broccoli or kale, or you didn't take tons of salmon and go, this is great.
I know.
Although salmon's okay here and there, but I definitely thought it was really gross when I was a kid.
Me too. Look at babies and kids that love fruit. They love juice. Like, I remember as kids, we used to smash milk. Like my brother, like we'd go through liters and liters of milk, heaps of fruit, yogurts. We had butter, but then I remember Mum, obviously when that whole vegetable oil thing came in, we changed to like Nuttalex and margarine, but they were just doing the best that they could. They didn't know any better. They just followed the mainstream nutrition advice.
Right. Yeah.
Really scary. So let's go back to so if a woman was to go to the doctors and get a blood test and it came back that she was anemic, or the doctor was telling her she got low iron, what should she do?
Yeah. And I can definitely answer that, but I do want to go back to vitamin A and why that's important.
Yes. Sorry. Keep going.
So, yeah. So the reason I bring up vitamin A is because I believe there were 3 doctors that actually cured anemia. They won like the Nobel Prize for curing anemia with just feeding their patients beef liver.
Wow.
So if you take that into account, what is the liver rich in? It's rich in vitamin A, it's rich
Mm,
in copper, it's
mm,
rich in other things too. But knowing the relationship between iron and copper, and
mm,
then vitamin A and copper. So vitamin A is actually what activates copper and
mm,
allows it to work correctly in the body and execute all of its important functions. And so we need retinol, real vitamin A, to activate copper. And
mm.
so that just makes perfect sense when you look at it, because liver is the perfect food for that. It has amazing source of copper, and it's an amazing source of vitamin A. And so if someone goes to the doctor and is told they're anemic, I would actually vouch for or advocate for a hemoglobin test, because that will really tell you, okay, is it ferritin? Is that the weird one, the irrelevant marker that you're measuring? Or is it hemoglobin that's actually low? That's going to give you way more of a marker. And I believe the ranges here in the US are 12.5 to 15.5.
So if someone goes and gets that test, what should they look for? Like,
Yeah.
mm,
So hemoglobin should be
mm,
between 12.5 and 15.5. Likely, if you're anemic, if you're truly anemic, it'll be maybe a little bit lower. But, that signifies to me that you're actually deficient in copper, deficient in vitamin A. You
mhm,
probably have stored iron in your tissues somewhere. So what you need to do is actually help the iron come out of storage. And
mm,
you can do that by, one, donating blood,
mhm,
or two, making sure, especially if you're female,
mm,
making sure you're cycling, or at least fighting for your cycle in some way, shape, or form if
mm,
you're, of age and can cycle. So, if you're female, in cycling, maybe giving blood once or twice a year.
mhm,
If you're a non-cycling female, maybe every quarter, just like males do. That's highly recommended for males as well.
mm,
And you can do that because it supercharges or ignites your iron recycling system.
mhm,
So here's another aspect of iron that we haven't talked about yet, is that our body has a really sophisticated iron recycling system. It
mm.
has some fancy name. I won't get into that. But basically, our body is really good at recycling things. It's using the most it can out of what it's got. So our body basically, it doesn't need more than 1 or 2 grams of iron per day dietary wise, because
Mm.
it's able to recycle about 24 to 25 grams. Some say even more than that. Some say
Wow.
upwards of 30. So we really don't need that much dietary iron every day, because our body's already recycling this through the red blood cells that come back and get broken down, and then in the bone marrow, and the body makes new blood cells, new
Mm.
red blood cells, and with that same iron. So it's utilizing everything that it can without making any waste. So we don't need that much iron and in our daily diet.
Mm.
But so there's that aspect too. We don't need much iron, but if you really wanted to get deep into it, and what kind of measures the efficiency of that iron recycling system, of your overall iron status, and the other cofactors that you need to manage iron really well,
Mm.
is get the full Monty Iron Panel.
Mhm.
And that will tell you, your hemoglobin. Let's see, it'll tell you your hemoglobin, your serum iron,
Mhm.
your ferritin, the favorite one of doctors, your zinc levels, your copper, your ceruloplasmin, which is the copper protein that actually allows you to do the funky stuff and the amazing stuff that you
Mm.
need to get done, um, uh, as well as retinol, so vitamin A and vitamin D, and a couple of other markers. And basically measures, okay, so how much iron do we think you have, in your blood? How much iron do you potentially have
Mm.
stored in your tissues? What's your ability to actually utilize iron? And that's really the meat of it. It's like, are you able to properly utilize it, or is it just going into storage likely? Because
Mm.
that's really, at the end of the day, what we want to figure out. And so, what other things do you need? So do you need more vitamin A in your diet? Have you been on fat-free diets your whole life?
Mm.
Or have you been eating lots of polyunsaturated fats your whole life, and barely gotten any retinol?
Mm.
Because that's most of us.
Mm.
And then copper, we need copper to manage iron as well. And a lot of us, organ meats have an amazing source of copper, shellfish as well. And so are we getting these foods in every day, or, at the right times, weekly, a couple of times a week? Probably not. So these are, it's a great way to tell, okay, how has everything up until this point, your diet and lifestyle led you to this place? And so we can really look at the iron, recycling capacity and your ability to manage it. And then from there, you can really start making changes and seeing your anemia kind of like lift up. So that's what I would recommend. That's the better test for seeing if you have true anemia, seeing also your oxidative stress. So the overall kind of like aging process that you're going through, because iron creates a lot of free radicals in the body, especially unbound iron. So when your body stores it away in your tissues, it's not that good either. It's a safety mechanism to keep it from feeding the bugs in our body, potential, bad things, but it can also rust in our body too. And so when iron rusts, if you've ever had like a cast iron pan, you've forgotten to cure it, you see rust, or, if barbells, for example, too, they rust. And that can happen in our bodies too. And when that happens, it creates a lot of issues. It can lead to disease. You can pretty much link iron, overload, quote unquote, to any disease out there. And having too much iron in the body, creating free radicals, is actually speeding up our aging process. And it's depleting us of magnesium, depleting us of vitamin E. So there's a couple things that can go really wrong with too much iron too. It's a balance that we need.
So ladies, just to finish off, on top of the normal dietary changes that we recommend, eat your liver and oysters every week.
Yes.
Get them in. I remember when I first started working with Emma, and she's like, "Oh, Kitty, you've got to eat liver every week." I was like, "Oh, I didn't like liver, but I did it anyway." Really religiously ate the oysters every week and the liver. If you don't love liver, take the liver capsules. Saturé's made some awesome. That's why we made them, Emma and I, because we were just, so many of our clients like, I can't do liver. I won't do it. I can't eat it, I do love pate. I love making pate. I think just when I'm busy, I don't make it. So in terms of the amount of liver and oysters per week, what would you generally recommend for people?
Oh yeah, I highly recommend getting liver in every day. So, it's just, you just need a little bit, but if you're not keen on the actual liver, you can get that a couple times a week, like fight for once a week. Stick it in, stick it in ground beef, make meatballs out of it. You can go to the butcher and have them mix organ meats in.
I've done that before.
But I highly recommend getting desiccated beef liver, especially if you're somebody that kind of gags at the idea of, liver, and maybe it's not attractive for you, and that's okay. But the pills, the desiccated beef liver pills, it's just freeze-dried liver, and so it's provides such a great benefit anyway.
Have you ever tried blending it in a smoothie? I did that once, and I was like, never again.
Really?
Raw liver in a smoothie. I thought, oh, this will be fine, but no good.
I haven't been that brave yet.
So nice. Cook it, I reckon. Sorry, and so in total amount per week, per 7 days, what would you roughly recommend?
That's a good question. If you're getting it I would try for like an ounce every day. So maybe 7 ounces per week. So maybe,
I remember we're in Australia, so that's an ounce is, how many grams is that? So we usually say to people like 100 to 150 grams a week, depending on your split. I think that's probably about roughly what it would, when we're talking ounces to grams.
I'm not sure about the conversion. That's something it's over my head. But I'm sure that's somewhat roughly equal to that. So definitely try to get the real stuff in, but if not, at least get the desiccated beef liver pills, and I take those every day.
I think
every day
Yeah, not eating the liver. The B vitamins are because they're water soluble too. So like unlike the vitamin A, your body will lose them every day. So it can be beneficial with them, I think, to take them daily. What about the oysters? How many oysters a week?
Yeah, so I generally want to go for 6. That's a really good amount. So 6 oysters, you can break them up throughout the week. You can eat them all at once in one sitting. Those are a really great source of copper and other trace minerals like selenium and zinc, and also I think iodine as well. So, you know, getting those in is really important too. Mollusks are, you know, those are the kind of, any kind of shelled seafood. Those are really good and have a decent amount of copper in them. And yeah, so I recommend 6 oysters, and you know, you can do clams. You can mix it up, especially if you don't like oysters. You could do mussels, and you can also do shellfish. So oysters are going to be like the best, but shellfish has a really great amount of copper too. And so you could do shrimp, you can do lobster if you want to get fancy. You can do scallops.
Oh, I love scallops.
Yeah.
Yummy.
And then, so those are 2 really, really amazing sources. I would say like probably the best. And my third source for copper is whole food vitamin C. So making sure you're getting plenty of whole food vitamin C, and that comes in the form of like citrus fruits. That's actually the namesake of vitamin C, is like vitamin citrus.
Yeah, really? Wow.
It's for citrus and collagen, because you need vitamin C to also make collagen. And so that has copper in it. So it's a complex, and there's a couple things in there, but also in vitamin C is copper. And you can get it from melons. I'm not sure what the seasons are like there, but we just finished, or we're on the end of melon season over here. I'm really sad about it.
Melons, I don't know why. Like I've never got it. I remember my dad when I was a kid loved rock melon. Like used to, I think you guys call it cantaloupe over there.
Yeah.
And honeydew melon. I don't know it's the green one. I don't know what you call that.
That's right. Yeah. We call it honeydew.
Yeah. I just don't like melons. I think people either love melons or I don't know why.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with them. I eat them like every day, all day.
I love juice. Love orange juice. Oh God.
Juice is a great option. Yeah. So juice is also great, especially OJ. But you know, if you can get some tropical fruit as well, those will have vitamin C. The tropical fruit juices are amazing. They're really tasty. So yeah, vitamin C as well. And with the beef liver, you're getting a really good dose of vitamin A. I'm not sure what you guys like there though, if you like butter or tallow more or ghee more, but those are also really good sources of vitamin A too.
Yeah, we've got all of them over here. I use all of them. We always use ghee to cook our chips in at night and at dinner, our potato. So yummy. They go so and delicious, heaps of salt.
Yes.
Yeah, just eat all good foods, guys. Like eat all the yummy, delicious orange juice and potatoes. And yeah, liver's not so delicious, but and some people like oysters. I think oysters are less offensive than liver, I reckon. Like I think more people can do the oysters than the liver, but yeah, just get them in. Just get them in. Get the good food in instead of taking the supplements.
Listen to Kitty.
Yeah, eat the food.
She's right.
It's nice. Yeah. Nice. Is there anything else that you want to add? You think that we haven't covered about the iron?
You know, we covered the iron recycling system. We covered anemia. We covered blood tests. I guess one thing is really interesting. I guess it's really important to support your estrogen detoxification if you are a female, because estrogen increases our ability to absorb iron as well. So, you know, which is also should be why we why we should have a bit of curiosity and speculation if we're told we are anemic, because women are so much better at absorbing iron than men are because of our higher estrogen levels. So Dr. Ray Peat, in his book, PMS to Menopause, he talks about this a lot. And he says that women are able to absorb up to 3 times more iron from one meal than men are. And then pregnant women are able to absorb up to 9 times as much iron from one meal than men are. So that's a lot of iron that we're able to absorb. So, you know, granted, our body is really smart. We absorb more. We also get rid of more if we're cycling. But that should be, you know, this sophisticated system, and the fact that we are able to absorb so much more, it should be kind of like a red flag when you're told you're anemic, because it just doesn't add up to me. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so there could be all these women out there. Sorry, I just put my bum down on the desk. There could be all these women out there thinking that they're low in iron when they're actually not.
Right.
They've just had the wrong test.
Exactly. And especially if you've been on the birth control pill, or if you're taking hormone replacement therapy, you know, a lot of women, especially after the age of 40, they might start to experience hormonal changes. And usually the doctor's sort of recommendation for this is like, oh, you seem low in estrogen, which is also very hard to be low in. That's also inaccurately measured, and I can talk about that too. But you know, so like they consider, okay, they see a deficiency, and their sort of approaches deficiency supplements. Let's supplement the exact same thing when they're missing the big picture, because so many things have relationships together. And so hormone replacement therapy, or, you know, even the birth control pill, that's going to increase your iron absorption by a lot as well. And even birth control pills have tons of iron in them too. They have upwards of 75 milligrams in one of the placebo pills for actually quite a few brands, at least here in the States. And so you're getting a huge dose of estrogen, plus you're getting a huge dose of estrogen all cycle long. And then you're getting a big dose of really, it's a bad form of iron too. It's not a good one, in the birth control pill. And so you're just overwhelming your body's ability to recycle it. You're probably having a lot of storage of iron because it's just too much. So that's another thing to think about too. If you've done that, you may likely have some kind of iron storage and overload going on.
Gee, it's just so interesting. I'm so glad we did this, because I get lots of questions all the time from women. And I think, you know, they get the blood test from their doctors and they think that they're low in iron. You know, they're all getting that test, which is just, it just makes you, like, I have only ever had a few rounds of blood tests since I've been eating like this. And I just find like I can feel it in my body. Like I know when I've pushed it too hard, or I haven't eaten enough, or stress is too much. You know, I think your body, and I'm not saying you shouldn't get blood tests, but like, you know, I think a lot of the time they go get the blood test, it just confirms what they already know.
Right.
That you need to do, you know. Like if someone had, you know, actually maybe we quickly talk about this, the dangers of high iron, and what symptoms would you look for?
Oh gosh. That could honestly be anything, because iron is just, it's connected with so many diseases, but a really, really one that I've come across very often is any kind of autoimmune disease. So it's usually has some kind of iron component. Those are more common in women as well. And, you know, it kind of makes sense, estrogen, iron, and then the level of stress that we're under today as a society. So you mix those three, and women are doing more, and we have cycles, and, you know, it's not a bad thing. It just means we're more sensitive to stress, and we really have to take care of that. So it's kind of like all those three things, stress, estrogen, and iron, kind of come together and can create, you know, an autoimmune reaction. So, you know, if you have Hashimoto's or rheumatoid arthritis, those are pretty hallmark things of iron overload. I would say, sure, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, just back to the autoimmune, you know, we've had some women come into our program with like rheumatoid arthritis. We've had quite a few actually. And just by them, they just do all the basics right. Reduce stress, get sun, eat the liver and oysters religiously, fruit, you know, just do all the normal diet changes. You know, lower stress. And, you know, there's two in particular that I'm thinking about now. And like their doctor's like, you're in remission. They're off all their medication.
That's amazing.
Isn't it amazing, you know, by like, and I've done a couple of interviews with them, and they really talk a lot about like listening to their body. and understanding now, like, because they do strength train, but they're like, we just have to be really careful, you know, we can't push it too much. So just knowing when to stop and when to listen to your body and rest, and that's really helped them a lot. Saying we've had some women with Hashimoto's come in and just eat lots of food and lower the stress and do all the basic stuff, and PCOS, just all those things. And they've improved dramatically. Like it is actually, isn't it quite amazing what the food can do? It still actually blows my mind. Like it's just, I think it's just quite, no supplements, you know, like just the food.
It's so rewarding though, because, you know, it works and they're doing the work, and they're experiencing such a huge benefit from just changing these little things. And that's really, like, at the end of the day, there's no magic pill. There's also no like super complex formula for anything. It's just like good food, good nourishment, lower stress, get sleep, get sunlight. And that's like the combination it's a winning combination. You can't do that wrong.
I think, you know, like I always notice personally, because we've got 2 businesses and I train hard and, you know, like I'm pretty go-go the whole time. And usually I'm like quite diligent with my food and will eat enough. But there's times when, you know, I get busy or I might push a bit hard in training. And I always know when I've pushed too hard, because normally my cycle is never get any cramping ever. And it's good. But when I notice if I've had a stressful month that I'll get cramping, like slight cramping, and then, you know, I'll be like, oh, okay, all right, you need to just dial it back a bit. You need to slow down. You need to listen, you know. Whereas before that, obviously 6 years ago, I'd just go hard the whole time. You know, never
like,
listen.
Cramping, what's that?
yeah. And now I'm like, oh, this isn't good. Like you know, I always like to sort of think, and I explain this, I just think it's a simple way to think it. Like my body's like a bucket, and there's things that I do that fill it, and there's things that I do to drain it. And I'm like, oh, you've obviously just drained it too much this month. So now as a result, this is happening, or my sleep won't be very good, or, you know, so I think your body's just, you really got to listen to your body.
That's a good analogy. Yeah. And that's what's awesome about what you're doing, is you're teaching people to get back in tune with their bodies, which is invaluable, because so many of us are just conditioned to kind of not listen to our bodies. And like you said, you did it when you were training a couple of years ago. You know, you wouldn't have thought twice about like, I have a crampsis period. You know, that's not a good thing. I should probably change something. My lifestyle was not supporting my body. Whereas like, you know, now it's a sign. So it's all a learning process. And what's really beautiful about the kind of work that we both do actually is just getting people back in tune, and allowing them to trust themselves, like trusting their body too, because that's part of it. So many of us are conditioned to not trust our bodies, and we're scared to do anything or try anything new or change our routine, or, you know, and it's really empowering when you can actually get away from that.
Oh, it is. It's amazing. And I think too, like, and look, I know this because I've done it myself, is that I think a lot of women, like, they're still looking for that magic thing or that magic supplement. And a lot of the time, like, they're missing some of the bigger picture stuff. Like, you know, and I'm just going to use myself as an example. A couple of months ago, because I get these ideas in my head, I'm like, oh, I'll just do this training program, because I love training. Like I love to lift heavy and push myself. I love the challenge. And I was like, oh, I'll just do a couple of these phases from Win at Life. Craig's like, you probably shouldn't do them. Like they're not appropriate for you. You're too advanced. It's too much volume at too high intensity. But of course I didn't listen. And so like after a couple of months, I hit the wall, and I probably wasn't being as diligent with my food, you know, and then I like my sleep started to be shit. And then I was like freaking out thinking, oh, fuck, you know, like I've just pushed myself too hard. And then so I just dialed everything right back, increased all of my food. And I started to I did this big spreadsheet tracking everything, like salt, calcium, magnesium, like all of these things, doing my temperature and pulse. And I was talking to Emma about it, and she's like, you're fine, Kitty. Like your diet is amazing. You're getting everything. You just need to relax, and like you just need to dial your training back and eat more and lower the stress on your body. And then I was like, after, you know, another month, I was like good again. And I think though you can get so down on the nitty gritty, but are you looking at the bigger picture? Like how is your overall stress? Because I think that, you know, and a lot of women, if they train, it's like you can only push your body. There's only so much food that will compensate for pushing your body so far. Like, you have to look at the overall big picture of the stresses. And I think, you know, you can take a heap of magnesium, but it's not going to matter if you're just pushing too hard in the gym, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's a good example. Like, you know, and if you're a woman who has a whole heap of emotional stress going on, you know, like I've had women in our program who are just going through terrible marriage problems. And I'm like, now is not the time for you to be trying to lose body fat. Like, it's too stressful. Like, you just, I think, and we forget that about all of these other stresses in our lives. So yeah, it really is. Sometimes you have to pull yourself up a little bit and look down, instead of, like, you can get so into the nitty gritty and forget about the bigger picture. But not to say that those things aren't important, but yeah.
That's really well said. Yeah. And, you know, like you mentioned, exercise is kind of, it's one of the things that drains the bucket, or maybe the way you were saying it, it's one of the things that adds to the bucket. But it's, you know, it's going to be a stress, and it's going to be more of a stress if we're already really stressed. And so the things that you're saying, you know, being consistent is what's going to also be the most de-stressing for our body too. So especially with nutrition, that's like the number one way you can lower stress. So making sure that you're eating those foods every day, but also fueling yourself properly, because the less micro emergencies that we can create for our body, the safer our body's going to feel, the more fat we're going to burn long term, and the more benefit, you know, vital we're going to feel as well. Our detoxification systems are going to work great. Our libido is going to be awesome. So it's all about making your body feel really safe.
Yeah. And like, I think, ladies, if you listen to this, training, and what I've realized over the years is less is more. Like, more is not good. Like, I think we're just so conditioned to think that more and more and more. And, you know, I think about now where I'm at now, and I train the least I ever had, least volume. You know, I still train at high intensity. Like, I push myself, but it's like 1 set or 2 sets, and it's low volume, you know, training 2 days a week sometimes. And I look and feel the best I ever have. So I think you just, like, and I understand how it's hard to shift that mindset, because we've always just been so conditioned. But if you've got to allow your body to rest and recover, you know, and just give it a chance. Like, because I think if you've done what you've done your whole life and you don't change anything, how is anything going to change? You know, even though this approach might seem radical, like eat more and do less, it really does work if you give it a go and you do it for long enough, I think, and be consistent with it. So
totally. I was in a place similar. You know, I was working out 7 days a week at one point, and doing like doubles, because I just wanted to like learn. Not only like did I love exercise, but I wanted to learn everything that I possibly could. So, but, you know, at the back of my mind, I was like, this is probably not a good idea. But and then I ended up burning out, and that was a couple of years ago. But, you know, you learn from it too. And now I'm kind of like that I definitely work out a lot less. So I weight lift and power lift. And, you know, maybe I'm working out 3 days, maybe 4 days a week. But I'm only doing like one heavy set, and just allowing myself to rest and recover, and taking long breaks in between sets too.
Yeah, totally. I think, it's just amazing, isn't it? Strength training. I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah.
So empowering,
so
and
fun.
exciting. Yeah. And you've just got to, not too much, I think, listen to your body, and, you know, make sure you're well fueled and well rested. Because I mean, in my head now, I always think, okay, I'm performance driven. I want to beat my last performance. And if I'm not rested and I haven't recovered, I can't beat it. So I'm like, well, what's the fucking point? You know, like, so I just give myself that extra time and go in when I feel good. So yeah. Amazing.
That's smart.
Amazing. Oh, you have to post some of your videos of you training. I don't think I've ever really seen you training.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe one day.
Oh, come on. Oh, you can just send them to me then. I love seeing people train. But that was so great. Thank you so much for coming on. It was really, really awesome. I think the viewers will love it. And just, I learned some great stuff too. So I'll put your like Instagram link down in the podcast details so people can go and follow you. And yeah, we'll have to get you on again soon, and we can talk about, I'm sure you've got lots of other topics you'd love to talk about.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Iron is definitely one of my fortes. I went through a program that was very focused on that. But yeah, I don't only talk about iron, but it's definitely a little, it's a subject I hold close to my heart. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was such a fun conversation. And yeah, I really hope your listeners enjoy it and find it helpful.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thanks so much, Loren. I'll speak to you soon.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thanks so much,
bye.
Kitty.
Bye.
Bye.